Welcome.
Welcome back.
Or welcome back, one of the two.
To the happy hour.
Cheers.
Cheers. Today's drink is...
She don't know, she ain't make it.
I don't. I do know that he bought this fantastic gin that we found in Louisiana.
Monkey 47.
Called Monkey 47. I had never heard of it before. If you find it...
It's nice.
It is such a great mix of botanicals.
That's gin, some aromatic bitters, some lime juice, and some keto simple syrup with some club soda.
Keto simple syrup. Apparently he's not going to give you guys his secret recipe this weekend.
Make your own.
Or today.
Or come buy mine.
So that's what I'm drinking. With mint leaves. From our ingrown plant, from our house-grown plants.
Yes, I'm drinking adult coffee. It's Dunkin' mixed with rum.
Far more straightforward than my drink. Anyways, welcome back.
Yeah.
Hope you guys have something to slake your thirst today.
You can
Be
do
that
water.
an adult beverage or water.
Kool-Aid,
whatever you feel like drinking.
soda. Don't drink soda.
Don't drink soda. It's not good for you.
I said it first.
You did. Today,
Talking about finances
money.
and dealing with it within your relationship, because nobody prepares you for that.
Really don't.
So we're gonna give y'all a little heads up, little tips. Hope y'all help. Hope. Nah, I hope y'all help. I hope it helps y'all. If not, maybe you can give me some tips and you can help me. I don't know. Clearly, I can't speak.
And it's not the drink. We just started drinking that.
Yeah, I started that yesterday, actually.
But yeah, welcome. We're glad y'all could join us tonight.
It looks like daytime.
It does. It is daytime today.
Tonight.
Oh, well, today. Glad you guys could join us today.
This evening.
This evening. We usually do this at night, but I'm excited to talk about this topic. We got married really young, y'all.
I wasn't there.
Yes, he was. For a man, he was very young. He was 26.
I had just turned 26.
He just turned 26. I was 23. I had just had my 23rd birthday 2 weeks before. So we were both pretty young. And
Step on my finances. Don't get married the week after your birthday.
Well, facts. That's not a good setup for future gifts.
You ain't gonna have it, especially if you're young.
But also, one of the things that we realized, we got so many different pieces of advice about what we should do with our money and how we should handle it.
Like 90% of it was horrible.
Really bad. In our opinion. For us.
It was horrible.
But this looks different for everybody. And I remember friends of mine asking how we handled our finances.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to figure out, should you keep them separate? Should everybody have a personal bank account and then have a combined bank account for household expenses?
Like the stuff that y'all pay for together and stuff like that.
Or should you have one big pot?
Yeah.
And then figure out savings together and have those be
credit accounts and
joint credit accounts, single credit accounts, who manages it, who's responsible for it,
yeah,
who pays that bill.
Not me, not it.
And
You gotta pay. I call not it. You slept.
And truthfully, for us, we decided, being very young, but I think I'd do it again.
Yeah.
Everything was joint for us.
Everything. Even pre-existing accounts, we just added the other person because
we pooled it. Debts were pooled. We talked about our debts. We talked about our assets that we had. We pooled all of our accounts. We had some.
Yeah, minimal assets.
We were young. We pooled all of our accounts. We talked about our credit scores.
Pooled all of our debt.
Pooled our debt.
Yay. That was great. But it's something that you gotta do when you're entering a relationship that you feel like you want to be in for a long time. It's a conversation you're gonna want to have, because what does it even mean to combine your finances? For us, it meant everything completely. Nothing was going to be mine and yours. Everything was going to be ours. Whether it was cars, homes, whatever, it's going to be ours and not just one person. So I don't want y'all to think that that's what y'all have to do, because every couple's different. Everybody's different about their money and their finances and how they do things. So you may want to keep some of your things separate or all your things separate, and you just operate like this is mine, yours is yours, and we make it work like we would making it work before we were together.
I think the important part is that you both agree on what your goals are,
Yeah.
how you want to approach it, and the best way to get there. Now, I will say this from the very beginning. If the reason you don't want to pool your finances is a lack of trust, you have a bigger problem.
Yeah.
And that's a different problem.
Don't start with finances. You have a bigger problem if you start with finances.
Yes, that shouldn't be the reason you choose to keep things separate. If you're choosing to keep things separate, there should be an intentional reason behind it. It should not be because I don't trust pooling my money with anyone.
Yeah, because then what are you in that relationship for?
And I think in this case, we're specifically speaking to marriage. I wouldn't necessarily say you should go ahead and...
Yeah, I'm making bank accounts with everybody.
Don't make bank accounts with everybody.
Bugging out, so...
But if you pledge your life to somebody, you should be able to trust them with your money. Should being the key word there.
That's key.
Should. So, everything needs to be a discussion in this particular area of your life.
Yeah, you got to be real detailed with this one, because anything left out is going to feel like a lie to the other person, because it essentially is lying by omission. If you have like a secret card that you only use when times get hard, and the other person don't know about it, and they find out about it, guess what? Broken trust. Who wants to do a broken trust?
Nobody.
Yeah, so be as open about everything as you can. If you're actually considering combining finances, even if you're just considering like a real relationship, you should have a discussion about your finances. Even if you're not combining them, you should know where your partner is, because that's going to affect you whether you combine your finances or not.
That's a fact. And the truth is, what I don't think a lot of young couples actually talk about is the ins and outs of their finances. What's your credit score? Your credit score is going to determine your goals, the things you can do. If your credit score is terrible, that may impact your ability to buy a house. If you want to buy a house, buy a car, even get a rental.
Or finance things.
Finance anything. And unless you have really just an amazing access to money.
Just cash? Just
flow.
Mad cash laying around.
Unless you can just afford to like drop tens of thousands of dollars, at some point you're probably going to need to finance something.
Yeah.
And so keeping that hidden is really problematic. And I would say not understanding what that means for yourself is problematic as well. So that's the first place to start. What does my credit score look like?
Yeah.
And I need to share this with someone.
Yeah. Not even just your credit score. What does your financial status look like?
Do you have a savings account?
Do you have a checking account?
Do you have a pension?
Do you have health insurance? These are important questions early on in a relationship that I don't think most people ask. You kind of wait until something happens, and then it's like, well, how are you?
Right.
Can you do this thing?
Right.
And that's probably not the best way to do things.
Absolutely not.
You fail to plan to fail. So when it comes to actually having that conversation, be as open as you can. Be as honest as you can. If you don't want to talk about it, you probably don't want to be in this relationship.
And if you're not ready to talk about it, period, you're probably not ready for a relationship at all. That's a level of openness that's super important.
Yeah.
Your financial health is going to affect your significant other. That's just bottom line. If you have defaulted on anything, that's going to become your significant other's tax burden. If you have wages garnished, that's going to become your significant other's tax burden.
Yeah.
There are ways around it. There are forms to fill out. There are ways to deal with it. But
you don't want to do that on the back end.
That should not be a conversation on the back end. People should not be finding out about that on the back end.
Yeah.
That should be something that people get to go into wide-eyed.
Financial surprises are the worst surprises.
Absolutely. It's funny because everybody says, and we've said this before in previous podcasts, that the biggest 3 stressors in marriage: money, sex, communication. What people didn't tell us, and maybe I hope you're hearing and we're saying, are the biggest stressors are the overlaps of these areas.
Yeah.
All right? Money is not a stressor because money is a stressor. Money tends to be a stressor because there is a lack of communication and agreement around it.
Yeah.
So, you want to remove that stressor? Start having those conversations. What does your future look like?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want out of life? Do you want a house?
Yeah. Because you may have goals that your partner has no idea about. And then they're like, what's happening to the money? And you're like, why does it even matter? And you're in 2 different places. And that's not good for a relationship.
Yeah. And we can speak from personal experience on this. And we're not even talking big money. We're both pretty altruistic. We like to help people. We like to give money when we can. But we had really different understandings of when we can and what that looks like. $20 to him was not as important as $20 was to me. And I'll let you speak to that.
Well, I had a lot of homies down at my old job.
Homies.
I call them homies, but they became homies over time because I would see them every day. They were the homeless people that kind of gathered around the campus, and I would see them and I would talk to them, and they would ask me for money, and I would give them money because it was like, what I was going to spend this money for was frivolous compared to what you're going to spend this money on.
For those of you who don't know, Atlanta's homeless population is
It's crazy.
Ridiculously out of control.
It's crazy.
Worse than New York,
It's
where
crazy.
we're from.
It's crazy.
It's really bad.
Crazy.
And our hearts were pretty broken when we got down here. We both
And
just
they closed
wanted
all the
to help.
shelters.
They closed all the shelters within a few years of us being here. So that's a little context for why he even wanted to help these people. These are people he sees every day. And sometimes just buy a meal for.
My homie Fidel.
Yeah, you don't have to shout them
Shorty.
out. There's no need for this. There's no need for this.
Parliament.
Okay. To the point where his coworkers used to joke around and say that he needed to claim them on his tax returns because he would just give them money. And I have no problem with that. That's fine and beautiful and wonderful. Except when we are not on the same financial page. And when he doesn't understand how much money he's actually giving away.
Also, it's problematic when you're giving away a bunch of money every day, and I didn't even talk to her about it. So that lack of communication caused problems with us because if I would have just told her, oh, I'm going to give away such and such money to this guy because he really needs it, she's not going to say, no, you can't do that. Don't be giving them our money. It's more so, is everything covered first? Because money is a security to an extent, because you got to make sure you're paying for yourself or you're going to be homeless too. So it's like, that conversation helped bring perspective to me, because it's like, I'm just thinking, they need help, I'm going to help. That's how my mind works. But that's not always the best way to operate, because I don't want to give and then be in the position where I need somebody to give to me at that point. So it's important to talk to your partner, because their perspective is important when it comes to finances. Because even though it's not like it's I have to ask permission, or this is my money or it's their money, it's ours. So anything that's ours, like I'm not just gonna take her hat and be like, I'm gonna let so also hold this hat.
You better not. This hat's dope.
Without saying something to her, because it's her hat. But it's both of our hats, because everything that's hers is mine, and it's mine is hers. So it's like the conversation is necessary because it's out of respect for your partner.
Well, that's something interesting that you said there, right? Because I think one thing that you have to remember when you get into a marriage with somebody is that you are now two becoming one. You're joining your lives together, and everything that you do have is for both of you. That's a mind shift.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is the crux of the problem. If you don't have that mind shift, if you have this idea of this is mine.
Some of y'all selfish. I said it.
Here's the thing. If you both go into it with that understanding that I want to have what's mine, there still has to be a budget and a plan, right? Those who fail to plan to fail. So if you have a budget and you say, hey, this is what comes in, this is how much the house costs, this is how much I plan to keep in my account, and that money that's in my account, I do whatever I feel like with, and here's how much money you put into your account, and whatever's in your account, you do what you feel like with. If that's the agreement you've made, more power to you. That's fantastic. Yeah. It's still a discussion, and there's still a plan to cover what we have together.
Just as long as both parties feel heard and understood, and they feel like both parties feel like it's fair, you're good. Now, when one party starts to feel away, my advice is you may want to stop this conversation for now. Come back to it at another time, because when people get heated about money, it's going to be a fight.
One of the biggest issues. It's one of the biggest problems in marriages. There's some stupid stat out there. What did you find? Was it 20%?
20% of relationships don't combine finances. And of that 20%, some crazy high percentage of those relationships break up because of finances.
That should not be the reason that you lose your relationship.
No.
It's not a good one. You should definitely go into that eyes wide open. So how do you do that?
Well, I would say first and foremost, you have to talk about your goals.
Goals and priorities. What's important to the two of you? This conversation should happen before you enter into marriage.
Yeah.
What's important to you? Listen, if you're not heading in the same direction, if you don't have the same goals and priorities, I'll be the first one to tell you you should not get married.
Yeah.
Love is not going to patch that.
Well, I'm not going to say that you shouldn't get married.
If you have none of the same goals and priorities?
You don't cut me off.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If you don't got the same goals and priorities, but if you could talk about it and come to an understanding about your goals and priorities, and it works with both people, that's great.
Fine. I'll take that. But if your goals and your priorities are non-negotiables,
yeah, what are you doing?
You have a bigger problem if you guys cannot get on the same page.
You actually don't have a big problem at all. You should get out of there.
You should. Because if this was one thing that we had talked a lot about when we first got together, I wasn't sure that I wanted a house. Oh, I know that's foolish in some respects, but in other respects, houses come with a lot of expense and a lot of responsibility.
Also fact.
And if you aren't buying a house in the right way, where it's actually equity and wealth building, then you really just bought expense.
Yeah.
And I did not want to buy expense.
I'm gonna tell y'all right now, stop buying these fixed up flipped houses. Stop it. It's a waste of money. You can do what a flipper does.
You can.
It's what they do is painting mostly. They're not doing that much. Stop doing that. You're wasting your money. You can buy that same house for probably $100,000 less and just do what the flippers do and live in it. It's a waste of money.
I will say this. If you do decide to do that, you guys should be on the same page about it.
Yeah, don't just do that without your partner.
Because it's still another marital stressor.
Yeah, home construction is rough.
We're going to move on from that one. You should budget together.
You should.
Now, this is interesting because you also need to consider, and we keep saying this, where you come from is going to inform how you interact in your relationship.
Yeah.
And we came from two very different financial backgrounds.
Yeah.
I came from a place where, okay, I'm going to tell on myself for a little bit here.
I'm not telling on me.
And y'all can laugh at me afterwards. But I remember having conversations with my mom when I was growing up. And I used to tell her that I couldn't wait to move out and have all these things. And I remember one day she said to me, "Do you know how much that costs?" And I remember being like, I'm actually not sure. And I was still a preteen because we were still living in Brooklyn. And I remember getting the newspaper and looking through it and finding the classified ads, things for sale. I remember looking at the coupon sections, figuring out.
Out there now. She was looking in the classified section of the newspaper.
I'm still only 25. I don't know what this guy's talking about. There's a whole classified ad still in the newspaper section.
When was the last time you saw a newspaper?
Anyways. But I used to look at the coupons. I would sit down and create a budget for myself. So that I had an idea of how much. I mean, my mother asked, "How much is this going to cost you on a monthly basis?" And I remember going back to her with my breakdown and going, "This is what I want, and this is how much it's going to cost me." And that didn't come overnight. I remember my aunt, shout out to Auntie, bought me a children's check set.
Of course she did.
It was a fantastic gift, though. Mm-hmm. They were real checks. They were able to be linked to my account. I had a little savings account with, I don't know if it was Greenpoint Bank in Brooklyn. And that's telling my age because they no longer exist.
They don't.
But I had a little savings account and I had these checks.
Bank in New York.
And this check set had a cartoon pig on it. And it taught me how to write checks and how to balance a checkbook. And nobody does that anymore. But the point is, I grew up with people asking me these questions. With people saying, "You have goals? How much does it cost you? How are you going to get there? What do you need to make those goals happen?" And I remember going back and sorting through that and figuring that thing out.
Yeah.
She had a slightly different experience.
My mother said I don't even have to. She said she doesn't even want me to get married until I'm 30. So she was planning on me being there for a long time. So
that didn't happen.
It wasn't something that was going to be discussed. So it was like whatever. I actually have friends that actually gave me a lot more information about equity and real estate and stuff like that than I did at home. At home, that wasn't really talked about. You
also were given money often.
Yeah.
To just do what you'd like to do with.
Yeah.
People didn't give me money. And
I mean, I did chores.
I know you did chores to earn it, but that wasn't even an option for me. Like my allowance was very fixed. I remember wanting this blue Discman. It's a little off topic, but I remember wanting this blue Discman. Also telling my age. And I worked so hard. I had a job at the time. And I saved up from my little job that I had. I went to every Saturday, my little 8 hours a week. And I saved up to get this Discman that at the time cost $120. So that's also telling you my age.
That's crazy.
Because the Discman should not. It was dope and it was totally worth it. It did not skip. It had no skip technology. So that I could put it in my bag and walk.
No skip technology still definitely skipped.
It did skip. Anyways, that's besides the point. I worked really hard for this Discman. And when it broke, I remember being devastated. My mother was really nice enough to replace it for me. And then it fell in the train tracks.
And guess who went and got it?
I got it back because I worked really hard for that. We're not going to talk about that story today. Don't do that. In that respect, don't be like me. That was dangerous.
That was crazy.
In any case, the point here is that your backgrounds are going to determine how you approach money. Mm-hmm. And so there may be a lot that you can learn from your significant other. Because I learned things from him about even how to look at housing costs. This was not something that I was doing. I was looking at a sticker price. And one day he said to me, how much does that house cost per square foot? And I was like, per square foot? What are you asking me? That's crazy. And when we actually started comparing it, it really
that's
left
all she looks at.
Because it's really the only way to compare apples to apples. When you're looking at your per square foot price, that's going to determine your equity. It's going to determine how much house you're really getting for your money. Like, divide that thing, man. Don't pay more than your neighborhood is worth per square foot.
Yeah, don't do that. You're wasting your money.
So, all that to say, you should budget together. You should talk about your goals. You should talk about how to get there. This should almost be exciting.
Yeah, put a plan in place.
Put a plan.
It's not that hard.
No, set a saving minimum. Even if it's like $5 a week.
It's better than none.
It's better than none. Put it to the side. Don't touch it. Let that be just for what you're planning for. You should be completely honest. Listen, don't hide debt from your significant other.
Not worth it.
Don't open secret credit cards.
Not worth it.
Just don't do these things. You're damaging your own financial health.
And your relationship at the same time.
Because you're breaking trust. Left and right. For no good reason. And if your money, having your own, is that important to you, then listen, they do wonderful things with direct deposit nowadays where you can split that thing into multiple accounts.
Yeah.
Have some money that goes directly into your account. Again, you guys agree on it.
Yeah.
To do with as you like. No questions asked. But make sure your household and your goals are covered.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you should also like budget, but then revisit that budget pretty frequently early on when you first started, because it's going to need some fixing, because you may not realize how much you're spending on things until you actually put a budget in place and you can see where the money's going, and then like check back on it every once in a while, like every 2 weeks, see what are we spending, where'd the money go, what was less than we thought and what was more than what we thought. Because you're going to see where your money's going. It's going to help you figure out how much you can actually save to put towards your goals, how much you're going to need on a day-to-day basis. And you'll go from there.
And what you might need to sacrifice to reach your goals. Truthfully, goals don't get achieved that easily unless you are very fortunate. So maybe you like to eat out, and maybe you realize that, our restaurant budget is high, right? Eating out is not cheap.
There was a point in time when the restaurant budget was high.
It was high. Even when we're talking about my job is dope and subsidizes the cost of our lunch, we still pay. But even at $7 a day, that's $7 for lunch, maybe $3 for breakfast, $10 a day. That's $50 a week.
It's $200 a month.
That's $200 a month. And then that doesn't cover dinner. So
yeah, you're not eating out for dinner. You spend $10 for lunch and breakfast. Get out of here.
If we're eating out for dinner on top of that,
yeah, that's wild.
You are spending a lot of money, and if that's not where now, if you can afford that, great, that's fantastic.
If you can afford that, you still shouldn't do it. That's a waste.
It is a waste, but maybe your time is more important, and y'all don't want to cook.
Man, even for $200 a month, you get somebody to come in and make you food, and it's still cheaper.
Personal chefs are probably cheaper than eating out all the time.
That's crazy.
In any case, though,
I'm judging you, but don't be judging with your partner.
Don't be judging with your partner.
I don't judge her. I judge y'all.
Which he shouldn't, because we did that for a long time. We ate out a lot. I was in school. He was working. I was also working while in school. He was working night shifts. We didn't have time to cook. Well, we didn't have time to cook.
We had time. It's just that you're not going to take that time, because we wanted to actually know each other a little bit. So.
And so this is also about where your priorities are, right? Where does your money offset your time, and is that worth it? And if so, maybe those aren't things you want to sacrifice. Mm-hmm. What are you willing to sacrifice to meet your goals? Yeah. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's the facial you get every 3 months. Maybe it's
cutting back on the face.
Maybe it's the massage that you get. Maybe it's the every 2 month hair appointment. I don't know.
I ain't gotta get them locks twisted up.
But whatever it is, know that that's money going out.
Yeah.
And money that you could reallocate depending on what your priorities are. So again, discussing your priorities, both personal, right? Because maybe your estheticians are important to you.
Yeah. Make sure you account for everything when you're doing your budget. Don't leave nothing out. You want a full accounting of what is actually being spent. That way you can actually figure some things out about what you're doing.
I know you guys can see, maybe you haven't realized what they are, but there are some nail polish bottles lining this room. This is our guest room. And so I keep all my nail polish in here. But one thing that we figured out was I was getting my nails done every 2 weeks, and I was getting that powder or the gel. And I was like, this costs me a grip every 2 weeks, and I don't even like the job they do. When I can just buy a pretty high-end nail polish, that high-end nail polish is going to last me for over a year. Yeah. It's probably going to cost me anywhere from $10 to $15 for the bottle. That's still cheaper than the manicure that I've paid for and hate.
Yeah.
I'd rather invest in nail polish and do my own nails. My nails are important, but I don't need to pay for them the way that I was paying for them. So definitely talk about where your priorities can shift.
Yeah.
The ways that you could save some money and still have things that are important to you happen, because you also should not lose yourselves in your mutual goals. Your individual self is still very important.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm for real when I say don't judge your partner, because like, what are you gaining from it? Like, you don't, there's no point in you judging your partner, because you judge your partner for essentially not being like you. Now, do you want your partner to be like you? Think about it. 10 seconds. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to drink my drink.
I'm not comfortable with silence, so I'm not going to sit for 10 seconds. But,
all right. You had your time to think. Now, do you want your partner to be like you? Even if it's something about with finances, do you want your partner to be like you? Because I don't. I like the balance that we have. She's not like me when it comes to finances. I'm not like her when it comes to finances. There's middle ground where we're similar in some things, but that combination of what that person's strength is and what this person's strength is should build each other up to make something stronger. If I'm just like her, I'm not adding nothing. What's the point in me being here if I'm not adding nothing? That's not helpful.
It's fact. And we've both grown. And sometimes the place that you are stronger in, you may need to take a back seat in so that your significant other can get stronger in that place.
Yep.
That was something that I learned the hard way. I did our budget for years.
Yep.
And I never gave him the opportunity to grow in that area. Until one day I said, hey, just do it.
But ask her who started doing the budget.
He started doing it. At my request, you started doing a budget.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took it over because we didn't budget the same way.
Yeah.
When I budget maybe like 3 months ahead. At a minimum. That doesn't include our long-term goals, but really just to say what's going to come in, what's going to go out, how do we reach our goals in this short term so that we can reach our goals in this long term. The way that he budgeted was, what do we need for the next 2 weeks? Which is really going to keep you living paycheck to paycheck, which is not a safe or secure way to live. Now, if that's the only way that you can survive right now, that is fully understandable. But there is a way to still take that money that you're looking at. I don't care which one of us is living paycheck to paycheck. We all waste money on something.
Yeah.
We do. And so if that means that maybe you can cut back on cable. Maybe you don't need cable. Maybe you could live with just Netflix. Cut back on cable. Right? There's something that you can save on to stop only planning for those 2 weeks and move forward to, how do I make this long-term goal happen? And that was where he wanted to grow. And I had to let the bumps along the way happen so that he could have that growth. Now, that may not be the way that you attack this, and you may have a different way of attacking this, and that's fine, but make sure that you are allowing your partner to grow however that happens. Maybe you hire a financial advisor. Maybe you have a mentor who can help both of you grow. Whatever it is, though, you guys should be constantly looking to grow individually and together.
Thanks.
And it's a lifelong conversation, right?
Yeah.
Your budgetary goals will always be shifting.
Always.
And changing.
When you get a new job, learn something new. Somebody lost a job. Things change. Life happens, man. And your budget, your bills ain't stopping.
They're not. You're getting more. You should have life insurance, health insurance, car insurance, home insurance. Kids. Right? Their expenses just continue to grow as you get more responsibilities. And so how do we protect this on an ongoing basis? What needs to shift for us to make sure that this is still healthy on an ongoing basis? It's got to be a periodic conversation. I'm not saying talk about money all the time.
No, that's going to be annoying.
That's annoying.
Also, if you have a partner that's apprehensive about talking about finances, because this will happen, and your partner's like, I don't want to talk about that. Try and encourage them to set the time to talk about it, because then they'll be more comfortable to talk, as opposed to you being like, all right, work's done, on our way home, just made dinner, we ate. All right, let's talk about the budget. That may not be good for everybody.
But also understand why your significant other doesn't want to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
And if it's anxiety inducing, maybe get to the bottom of why it's anxiety inducing, what you can do to help alleviate that anxiety so that you guys can still have these conversations.
Yeah, it's important.
It's still important. And some of this just simply goes back to, how do I support my spouse, my significant other, so that we can have a healthy relationship together, but also be healthy individually and keep that growth going. Life is about continual growth, guys.
It should be.
If you're not growing, what are you doing?
Going backwards.
You're just regressing.
It's a fact. But yeah. As far as budgeting, you can do it the way we do it. We do it in a spreadsheet and just update it month to month to month to month. But there's apps that'll help with budgeting.
There's really good apps that will help you save. There's Truebill. Oh my God, there's so many.
There's a lot. Just find whatever works for you, whether it's an app. Some people might want to use pen and paper. Don't judge them. That may be what's easier for them. Let them use pen and paper. Just don't lose the pen and paper. And
put it in a filing cabinet or something.
Because whatever works, man. But I encourage budgeting and conversing about the budget and working together to make the budget as good as the budget can be for the time being. And as you figure it out, the budget will get better.
And ask people. Talk to people.
Yeah, you can ask us. We'll tell you.
Ask people that are more knowledgeable than you, people who have been doing this. We're still learning so much when it comes to finances.
Yeah.
Pensions, and I just had a phone call about life insurance. I was like, life insurance? Now, I probably should have had life insurance for the past 10 years. Life insurance is a lot cheaper to get when you are younger.
Facts. Also when you're in shape.
Get life insurance early. Now, I know it sounds unaffordable. Get a little bit of life insurance. You can always add on, get life insurance early. But we're still learning so much about finances and still having these conversations, but making sure that you talk to people who are more knowledgeable than you is so super important.
It's a fact. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before I yell at the people?
No. This is not a war. You're working to build together. So build something beautiful together and then get help when you need to get help. This is not something to be ashamed about. We need to have more of these conversations in our communities.
Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
He was excited, so go ahead, baby.
Oh, my bad. Like, a lot of people do feel ashamed about their finances because they've been through stuff that is not good. But don't be ashamed of your credit score. Don't be ashamed of not being in a good financial place. Just work on it.
Do better.
And hopefully you get a partner that's willing to work with you and you can get to a better place. Because, I mean, that's what relationships is about. It's not about just staying in the same place you at. Relationships is about building. So, build. And your relationship, it's going to be fine. You're going to have your ups and downs, but you'll get there if you're working on it. That's the thing. Just keep working.
Keep working, keep building, keep talking, keep talking.
Yeah.
God, I cannot say it enough. Keep talking.
Unless you talk too
Communication
much.
is so important.
If you talk too much and you're not saying nothing, don't do that.
But also keep listening.
Yeah. Communicate good.
Communicate well.
Wow. See, I should be correcting my English.
I
like
did
I'm
not.
not from
I
America.
was not. Did you say like
I
you're
said,
not from America?
I said communicate good. She said communicate well. English, please.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for
I ain't
joining
yell
us.
at them yet.
What are you yelling at the people about?
You know I yell at the people on the podcast, son. I need people to respond.
I am so grateful.
This is a dialogue.
I am so grateful. First of all, we should have said this in the beginning. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Subscribe.
I'm so grateful to all of you who have been
Put it on
encouraging us.
Like the thing.
Yeah, our lighting keeps getting brighter and darker.
It's because it's getting dark outside.
It's getting dark outside, so forgive us for the lighting situation.
Don't forgive me. Get your finances in order.
Get your finances in order. But also, thank you so much for those of you who have been encouraging us, giving us tips, giving us hints. Please let us know what you want to talk about. Y'all, we celebrate 12 years this weekend.
Give us a hand.
Which I'm excited about. Well, now I've told people my age, told them how old I was when I got married, how long I've been married.
I'm 39. I'm almost 40. Okay. I'm older than you.
But we're really excited, and we do not know everything.
Not at all.
We still ask so many questions, but the stuff we do know and that we can share with y'all, we are so excited to do so. So honestly, whatever questions y'all have, please reach out to us. You've got the email address, you've got the YouTube channel, hit us up on Facebook. However you want to get it to us, but whatever you want to know, if we can help, if we've been through it,
we can help. Let us know. And if anybody want to help me buy some houses down here, and I'll help you flip them.
You want to flip houses?
I'm down. I'm talking about finances. Might as well.
We're down to do that. We should investment groups. We should build them.
We should.
So
y'all playing games though.
Anyways, thanks for joining us, y'all, and until next time.
I got a little bit left.
You do. Cheers to y'all.
Cheers.